Hey, a lot of people have clear intentions about what they want to do and how they want to do it. But when it comes to following through, most people really struggle. So if you've ever set a goal, if you've ever had a clear intention in mind, something you set out to do and accomplish, but you just got stuck, then this episode is for you. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you the 4 paths to living intentionally. Plus, I'm going to share with you how you can figure out which path you're currently stuck on so you can get unstuck, start moving forward, and as a result, start creating the life of your dreams. Hey, it's me, Rob, and welcome to Attention Made Simple with me. That's right, me, your host, Rob Sims. Hey guys, let me ask you a question. Have you ever got super excited about achieving a goal? I mean, you got clear on what you wanted to do. You sat down, you wrote it out. You put the steps into place. Maybe you put some signs up around your room or your office, in places to remind you. You told everybody, hey, I'm going to do this thing. But then maybe you got started, right? Maybe you actually moved into taking action for a little bit. Some people actually do take action. But here's the reality. If you're like most people, you have given up or forgotten about that goal or that intention within 6 weeks. See, the sad truth is, and I saw this the other day, the sad truth is only about 8% of the people who set their New Year's resolutions, only 8% achieve it. That means 92% of the people out there setting New Year's resolutions, they're not getting what they want. They're getting excited. They're getting pumped up. But for some reason, life is getting in the way. As John Lennon said, life is what happens while you're making other plans. But if you're tired of that, right? See, I got to a point where I was really, 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 really sick of telling myself that I was going to write. If you know my story about Life by Intentions, my book, I wanted to write a book ever since I was a little kid. And I would sit down and I would get started, but I wouldn't get very far. I might get a few pages here and there, then end up putting it in a drawer, putting that notebook away or, that file away or whatever, and just forgetting about it. And then a few months later, getting kind of like pumped up again and like, hey man, I'm going to do it this time. I got really sick of that. And I remember I was sitting with my wife at lunch and it was on a Saturday. I think it was like April. And I remember just feeling so much frustration and so much pain with myself for setting these goals and telling her I was going to write this book for years and never following through. And I remember just looking into her eyes and thinking, I got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to find a way to get unstuck. I got to find a way to do more than just write out the title or sometimes you don't even get that far, right? But I've had to figure out how can I actually start the project, set the intention, and then move forward and turn it into a reality. So what I did was at first, instead of like, hey, I'm just going to do this again, because you know what? Let me tell you some of the best advice I ever got when you get stuck. And it's hard. It really is hard, right? Do something else. Anything else, right? So if you have been saying, hey, I'm going to lose that weight, or I'm going to get in shape, or I'm going to run that marathon, or, I'm going to take control of my finances, or you're saying, like, I'm going to get more connected to my spouse or my kids or my parents, my friends, or I'm going to start that new relationship, or I'm going to move forward, whatever it is, right? That you've been saying you're going to do. If you just keep saying that and then nothing happens, what you need to do is figure out, what can I do differently, right? Just anything. What can I do that's not what I normally do? So when I was writing or wanting to write, the thing was, I would say, hey, I'm going to write, but then I wouldn't, right? So I might say I'm going to write. I plan out a time to do it, get the room all set up, and then nothing, right? So I was like, okay, what can I do differently? Well, this time I decided I'm going to do research, and that's what the book's going to be about, right? I was like, I'm struggling with this, so I got to figure it out, and that can be the book. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to go to the library, and I'm going to get every book that they have on this stuff, on how to follow through with your dreams and your goals. I've already read a ton of those books, but I was like, I'm really going to not just read them, I'm going to scrutinize them. I'm going to find things, I'm going to try it, I'm going to see what works, what doesn't work. I'm going to eliminate, right? This is the scientific method, if you think about it. I have a clear intention, and then I have a hypothesis. The hypothesis is simply, if I do this thing, right? If I do A, then I'll get B. And if I don't get B, the scientific method is go back to A, because B doesn't change. So B is write and publish a book, right? So if I do blank, then I'll write and publish a book. So I just put A, and I kept putting new things into A. And if it worked, I then like, okay, it's over here. And if it didn't work, get rid of it. So when you look at my book, Life by Intentions, that is what that book is. I mean, I dove into all the research I could find on how people follow through. What's the difference, right, between that 8% and the 92%? The 8% that succeed and the 92% that don't. So if you really want to go deep into all this, kind of a cheap plug here, but this is my podcast, and I got to tell you about my book, Life by Intentions. It's a good book. I'm really proud of it. I should be, right? I mean, I wrote it, but I really am proud of it because I think it's life-changing. You know, the feedback I've gotten from people, plus, as I'm telling you right now, it changed my life. It was what moved me from stuck to successful, right? So the first thing is you've got to, if you want to, these 4 paths, okay, let's go back to the 4 paths of intention. If you want to take control of your life, if you want to move forward with your life, then we've got to figure out which path we're on, because there's 4 paths that people get on, and they often get very stuck. And so you might be on the first path, you might be on the second path, or you might be on the third path. Now the 4th path, that's the path you want to be on, right? That's where you are intentional. You're living that intentional life. You are saying, I'm going to do this thing, and you're doing it, right? And that's when you feel good about yourself, because you're like, man, I'm not just thinking about it. I'm not just talking about it. I'm doing it. That's the path we want to get to. So the first path, right? First step. And I want to, before I show you these things, right? They're on my cards right here. I'm going to show them to you. But before I show them to you, or read them to you, if you're listening to this on the podcast, don't feel left out, guys. But you can watch this on YouTube, or you can listen to this on any podcast station. I got to warn you, though, okay? Because what happens is when I teach this to people, they go, yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that. And I'm stuck. That's not working, Rob. That's not right. That's called the curse of knowledge. Okay, be careful of the curse of knowledge, because basically you have the knowledge that you know you're supposed to do something, but then you don't do it, right? And I know I'm guilty of that. I've been guilty of it so many times. I'm walking around telling people, well, you got to do this. And then they're like, whoa, are you doing it? Are you doing what you're telling me to do, Rob? Because that's important. That's really important. That if I'm going to teach you, then I need to be doing it. But I also want you to know I struggle with it. It's the name of the show, right? Is Achievement Made Simple, not Achievement Made Easy, right? It's simple, but it's not easy because we're in it. That's why we often need a coach. I can tell you one of the best things you can do is get yourself a productivity coach, an accountability coach, one of, what I am, a maximum achievement coach, which is my own thing, right? I came up with the maximum achievement performance coaching because I wanted to be able to help people, but not in the traditional life coaching way, or not in the traditional counseling or therapy way. I don't do therapy with people. I could. I went to school for that, but more in the coaching way, because I used to coach basketball. And when I coach basketball, I don't get out there and do it for them. I don't sit there and listen to them complain that they can't get the ball to go in the hoop. No, I'm there to motivate, inspire, and teach them the fundamentals, show them the fundamentals, and then make sure they follow through and practice and practice and practice. Because the only way you get good at anything is to practice, practice, practice. Rehearse, 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 right? If you've ever been good at anything, it's because you put the time in to become good at it. But you didn't do it alone, because the problem is when we do it alone, we don't get feedback. We need someone. That's why, in basketball, you need a basketball coach. And they're going, hey, your elbow is sticking way out here when you're trying to shoot that shot. You need to pull it in. And so they don't know that because they can't see themselves and they're caught up in the moment. So don't get caught up in the moment here going, okay, I know all this stuff, so this is baloney. No, analyze it. Look at it deep and say, hey, where am I in? Maybe that is me, right? Maybe I'm not doing that thing. And ask people even, someone you trust. You don't have to, and I always warn, if you ask people, understand a lot of people, most people, let's just go most people they're going to criticize you, or they're going to placate you, right? They're going to be like, oh, no, you're great. That's great. You're doing good. That's great. No, that's perfect. And then they walk off going, golly, this guy needs a lot of help, right? So we look at that. We got that extreme. Then you got the other extreme is like, well, you know what? Everything you do is wrong, and I can just tell you all about it. Make sure you analyze it and you figure out, okay, is this an honest opinion? So don't let them crush you when they say it, and don't let them build you up too much either. Just look at what is and go from there, okay? All right, so with no more, got these cards here. I'm getting them ready. You can see it already. Number one is you got to become 100% responsible for you, for your life, for the outcome you're getting in life. So critical. If you're going to become intentional, you got to get rid of the excuses. Become 100% responsible for every outcome in your life. That doesn't mean that you need to feel bad about it. That doesn't mean you need to beat yourself up over it. It just means I'm not going to have any more excuses. I'm going to look at my life and I'm going to say, hey, what's not working? And what excuse am I giving for it, right? Because what happens is, way too often, people are making their excuses more important than the outcome, right? Have you ever done that before? You've made the excuse so important. You just give it so much value that it's more important to you than the outcome. Well, I can't do it because, and whatever, and every time I try to, and I've learned, you don't, when you're trying to, coach somebody or something like that, until you get good rapport, you don't do that because they're going to give excuse after excuse after excuse. And as soon as they start to give me an excuse, I'm like, whoa, let's pretend that excuse is gone. Now what? Now what's going to keep you? What's going to hold you back now, right? Because they say, well, I can't achieve my goal because I don't have time. Okay, well, let's just assume that you have the time. And it's silent, right? Because, well, if I had the time. Yeah, if you had the time, then you're telling me you could do this thing, right? Well, if I, yeah, but, and then just I stutter, right? I stutter out all the buts because they're going to tell you if I had the time, I could do it. And that's where they live. They live in that excuse. We say, well, imagine you have more time than you need. Let's get started. Yeah, but I don't have the right planner. Yeah, I don't have the right computer. Yeah, I don't have the right this or that, right? It's not the time. I don't know. They're going to make excuses. So you got to be really upfront with yourself and honest with yourself. What excuse am I making? So when I wanted to write, that was the thing. My thing was I don't have any ideas. I don't know what to write about. I was like, well, that seems pretty legit. That seems like a legit excuse, doesn't it? I mean, hey, I don't know what to write about. What am I going to write? So I sit down and I just stare at a wall or I stare at a blank screen. Well, when you decide to let go of that excuse, you then decide to write about anything. And if it doesn't work, scrap it and start over. So I start writing life by intentions, right? I was like, well, my excuse was I don't know what to write about. My excuse is I can't follow through. So I put those together and I wrote a book about how to follow through because I had to figure it out for myself. And then I just kind of document the story, right? I kind of tell you here's the steps. This is what I went through. It works for me. Let's see what will work. See if it'll work for you. Okay. So number one, no excuses, right? When you're 100% responsible for you, that means that there are no excuses. So sit down, get your journal out and write all the excuses that you've come up with. Just put them on paper. And then if you do that, see, as soon as you start writing down your excuses, every time you get one, just write it down, right? You say, I can't, but whatever, just write it down, get it out of your head, right? So you can see it. And then that actually takes you in to the second path, which is awareness. Because we have to become aware of why we're not being 100% responsible, right? What was my childhood, Rob? I had a rough childhood. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had a rough childhood. That's not fair. That's not right, But it is what it is, as they say. And you can't go back and fix it. If you could jump on a time machine, go back, slap those people around that, treated you so badly, not literally, I wouldn't admit, but go back and fix it, then worrying about it's great, right? Using an excuse is great because you can say, well, I can fix that. But if you can't fix it, don't mess with it, right? You're unless you are in a dangerous situation. If you're in a dangerous situation, you need help, then get help, right? If you have major problems appear because of that, then get a therapist. Remember, I told you I'm a coach, maximum achievement and performance coach, and my goal is to get you moving forward, not to keep you stuck in the past. So if you will look at your past and go, hey, no more excuses. I've been using my past for an excuse. And you go, you know what? That stuff happened. It sucked, but I'm going to move forward. When you make that decision to move forward, when you get clear that who I am right now and who I'm going to be in the future is a choice, when you get that clarity, hey, I used to be someone who had these problems because of my past, and I'm sick of it. I'm done with it, right? And that's where I got when I was looking at my wife that day. As I was telling you, I was looking her in the eyes, and I was just feeling so bad. I was like, I am done with this pattern of saying I'm going to start. I'm ready to start. I'm going to make the change. I'm going to start writing, and then not following through. I just felt like there was no more excuses. I'm done. When you get to that point, right, you write it down, you write down your excuses, you become aware of them. You start looking forward. You're like, okay, so then see, this takes you in to the third path, because once you have awareness that you're using this excuse to not move forward, the next thing we got to do is acknowledge. So I got a couple of circles on here, and if you've read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about the circle of concern, and that's what we've got right here. So you acknowledge what you control, which is the middle, right? This part right here, what do you control? And then on the outside of the circle, that's the stuff you influence. So you have to know, what do I control in this situation? What do I not control? So if you're listening to this, guys, it's just 2 circles, a circle within a circle, and the middle circle is everything you control. And when you're making excuses, that middle circle is really, really small. But when you decide to take 100% responsibility, you start becoming aware, then that middle circle expands, because you say, okay, I can't control the past, but I can control whether or not I focus on the past. I can't control the past, but I can control how I think about the past. I can't control the fact that this person hurt me in the past, but I can control what meaning I take from that, what I want to learn from that, who I want to become, where I'm going. I take control of my thoughts. I take control of the meaning of the things that happened to me. I go, wait a minute, there's more than one meeting. This is called multiple vantage points, which means that this bad thing happened to me, right? So A happened to me, and I've been giving it this meaning, saying, well, it was horrible, it was bad, it was unfair. But when you look at something from multiple vantage points, you go, wait a minute, could I learn something from it? What can I take from this? How can I use that to motivate me? How can I use that to move me forward? How can I let go of that? It's because it's kind of up to you. Sometimes we just need to forgive and move forward. And I know you know this, but forgiveness, remember, forgiveness is for me, is for us, right? The person that forgives is for the person that forgives. You don't need to tell that person that hurts you. You can, but you don't need to tell them you forgive them. You just need to forgive them in your heart, right? And when you do that, you start loving them and going, you know what? I forgive you because people do what they know. That's what they do. And apparently that's all this person knew. They didn't know what you know. They didn't have that compassion. They didn't have that understanding. And you can forgive them for that, because I really believe, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I really believe that if someone gets new information and they really understand that new information, right, at a gut level, not just a surface level, just like I talked about the beginning of this podcast when I said be careful of the curse of knowledge, right? You can tell people that you understand forgiveness, but it's not until you do it, right? It's not until you really go deep in your heart and you go, how can I really understand this person? How can I really have compassion for this person? I mean, they hurt me so bad. How can I possibly forgive them? But then you look deeper and you go, maybe they were hurting. Maybe they were hurt. Maybe if I could just love them unconditionally, then I could forgive them and I could move forward. And then that bad thing that happened now became something that ignites in you some strength like you've never felt in your life. I hope you're feeling this, guys, because I really want you to forgive. Forgive yourself even. So many people, they have total control over whether or not they love themselves or they hate themselves. Total control over the words and the thoughts they use to describe themselves. Total control over their thoughts. When they look in the mirror and they look at that face that is theirs and they can think, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm gorgeous. John Lithgow used to say that. Third Rock from the Sun, John Lithgow. Okay, watch it. It's hilarious. But he would look in the mirror and he would be like, yeah, I'm gorgeous. You have that choice. Or you can look in the mirror and go like, I got a big nose. I got weird shaped eyebrows. I'm not making fun of you guys. Please don't take it that way. I'm trying to say that that's what it's kind of we're doing to each other, right? We do it. I've done it before. I look in the mirror and go, look at this nose. It's the size of a pencil. It's huge. It's not really that big. It's a big nose. But then I realized, you know what? I can get more oxygen in faster than you can. But that sounded weird on the podcast. But I just took a deep breath right there to let you know I can take a deep breath. I got a big nose, and that's a benefit. And I'm like, okay, my nose is me. It makes me unique. It's who I am. So I can look at that nose and go, I don't want to do it. I don't like it. Or I can look at the nose and go, I love it. It's my nose. This is my nose, buddy. It's prominent. It's strong. It's mine. And that's a choice, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Acknowledge what you can. Acknowledge what you control. All right? What do you control? You always control your thoughts that you have about anything. The meaning that you give to anything is within your control. So what's really cool about this is when you start forgiving people, when you start forgiving yourself, all this stuff on the outside of the control circle, right? The second circle is everything you influence. You become an influencer, right? Because people look up to people who have the strength and the courage to take control of their own mind. They do. I can tell you this. When I didn't take control of my mind when I was younger and I had low self-esteem, no one listened to me. And then I decided, you know what? I got something to share. I'm learning a lot about how to become happier, how to become more successful, and that can benefit people. And when I started just knowing that, my presence became stronger and people were gravitating towards me like, well, let's listen to this guy. He seems to know what he's talking about. I want to get his opinion. Not saying my opinion's right. I try to actually help you find your own opinion with what I do. But when I'm teaching you, I'm trying to teach you what works. So I go back to I want to write. No excuses. Right? So I'm aware of my excuses. Now I got to become aware of what I control. I was like, you know what? I control whether I sit down at the computer, open up the word processor, and just start typing words, or whether or not I walk around the house in circles, right? Or I sit down and eat a bowl of ice cream. I control all that. So when I controlled myself and I sat down and started, I just write. I'm just like, I'm going to write something, write anything. Then that started giving me power. And I wrote a bunch of stuff, some of it good, some of it bad, right? But eventually it started making sense. And I started getting into a rhythm and a pattern, and I wrote the book. I actually wrote 2 books. There was another book in there I never finished. I should go back to that. There's a should in there. That's not a good thing either. Catch yourself, right? You control what you should on. SHOULD, okay? You control what you should on, which means that if you say, I should do this, or I should be better, or you should do this, you control that. So stop it. It's really, the should thing is not good unless it motivates you to get up and do something. Change should to gonna, doing it, right? Or try, get rid of try. You control the words you use. So when you say, oh, I'm trying to do this, you're just telling me that you're not going to do it because you're just going to try to do it. Try doesn't equal done. I'm going to learn. I'm going to take action. I'm going to see what I can, do in this. I'm going to complete something. And it doesn't have to be great, right? Doesn't have to be great, but we need to get going. So once we do that, let's go back through these guys. Once we drop the excuses, become 100% responsible, right? We decide everything in my life, everything that shows up in my life, that I'm 100% responsible for. Now, when bad things happen to you, you're not responsible for that jerk. But what you are responsible for is your reaction to that person. When we decide that we are going to make lemonade, that is an amazing choice. People throwing lemons at you, life giving you lemons, and you going, hey, thank you. I'm going to turn it into something positive. So the acknowledgement of your excuses, writing them down, becomes awareness, right? We got to know, what am I doing? What role am I playing in this? And then we acknowledge what we control. What do I control? Well, my awareness was that I'm making excuses. What do I control? Whether or not I sit down at the computer and actually open it up and start just writing, putting ideas out there and seeing what happens. Once we do that, then we can be intentional because we're taking action, right? So you set that clear intention. This is what I want to do. No more excuses. Here's what I'm aware of my excuses. I'm aware of what I'm doing instead of what I should, want to be doing. There's the should. Should could be, but see, when I use the word should, I'm saying I'm not doing it, right? So what I'm doing versus what I intend to do, then I look at what I control. and then I take action. And when you do that, folks, you are living intentionally. I thought I had a card, but I don't for that one. But we do those 4 things. We get on the right path. Then life starts to really work. I know it's as simple as when I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I really start to lose energy. I really start to lose confidence in myself really fast. But when I say, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and even though I'm uncomfortable in the moment, and that's really critical, right? Sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable. When I'm uncomfortable in the moment, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. So I'm aware that I'm uncomfortable, but I acknowledge I have the ability to take action, even when I'm not comfortable, because I want this thing. Then I take action and I feel better, right? Even if it's not perfect. And please get rid of perfectionism. There's not a path in here. None of these paths have the word perfection in them. That's just arbitrary. You got to decide, I'm just going to do it. And if it's not good enough, then I'll do it again. I'll do another one. I'll do something else. For like in writing books, right? If you want that first book to be a bestseller, you're going to be in the rare, right? You better already have a following of, a couple million people. You better already have the right marketing skills and build up for that thing for it to happen the first time. But most best-selling authors, they write several books, and finally one takes off because they're getting better, right? And they're like, well, I can't control whether people buy the book, but I can control whether I write the book. And each book that we write gets better. Just like in the videos I'm making and the podcast here, this is only the second podcast. So if, I don't expect perfection out of myself. If you're expecting perfection, you didn't make it this far because obviously I am not, a top podcaster. I'm just talking to you guys. I'm just visiting with you and trying to coach you and trying to pump you up because better done than on the shelf, right? Better done than on the shelf. So, to wrap it up, guys, decide what you want. Write down those excuses, right? Get them out. Overcome them. Think about how can I overcome them? Acknowledge what you control, and then take action. When you do that, life starts to work. Life starts to happen. All right, so let me wrap this up, guys. If you are wanting to go deeper with this, I've got a few things for you. I got Rob's free class, and the links are down here below. But robsfreeclass.com, 5 steps. I don't know. Please follow the link. I've got my book, Life by Intentions. That is lifebyintentions.com. You can go there and just buy a digital copy, or you can go to Amazon and buy a copy of it as well. I also have my book, Intentional Mornings, which shows you how to create a morning routine so that you can create the day the way you want it. You can get so much more done, and you can change your life one morning at a time. And it's a simple little book, but it takes you step by step on how do you get a great night's sleep so that you can wake up earlier. How do you wake up earlier? And then how do you make this morning routine so that you actually get up, take action, become intentional in the process? When I did that, when I started living intentionally in the mornings, everything changed. I mean, everything changed. I love early mornings, but it's because I set up a routine, and this routine helps me accomplish my goals. So I'm getting more done by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. than most people get done all day. If that sounds like something you're excited about, then check out my book. Link down here. You can go to Amazon and for Intentional Mornings. You can also pick up Life by Intentions, which shows you how to transform your life one intention at a time. And I also have Life by Intentions Planner, which is also at Amazon. And that's a really good planner because it's centered around creating a balanced life. And then it helps you figure out what your goals are, how to set your goals, and then make sure that your day, your week, your months are all centered around those things that matter the most to you. Because living intentionally means that you have a plan, and it's an authentic plan. Your life is your life. So don't make a plan around someone else's dreams. Don't let someone else's agenda, as Brendon Burchard says, don't let someone else's agenda get in the way of your agenda. Figure out what you want, become intentional, and then live intentionally. So, this is only episode 2. I'm excited. We got episode 3 coming up. I'm going to be working on that. So please, if you want to be the first in line to watch that or listen to this, subscribe if you're on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, go to my website, sign up for it, do everything. Guys, just get out there, share this material if you think it's helpful. Let people know about it. I just want to help you become your best self and live your best life. Hey guys, go out there today and crush it. And make sure that you live intentionally. Have a good one, guys. See you on the next episode.